with the financial statement of the budget of last year. The good news was there was $65,262 left over. Now, the budget was designed by the board previously to be within plus or minus 3%. So we came out ahead. Now we came out ahead for different factors. But I just want you to know that this $65,000, I made a motion, it was passed. That money is now going to the reserve fund. And by the end of the year, all of this money will be where it should be, in the reserve fund, because it was a surplus, and that's where surplus money should go. Now, there's two reasons why we lucked out. The first reason is that the general manager wasn't in existence from September to December. So that was a savings in payroll. And the second thing that happened to us, as is happening today, is the weather. Because when our chimney came down, we immediately had to go to a temporary boiler. The temporary boiler, when it went in, and the secondary boiler were both designed to run on oil. And oil is our secondary source. Oil costs us much more than gas. But to our benefit, two things happened. One, the weather, which we're experiencing, was this kind of weather in terms of the winter months. We had an extraordinarily warm winter. By having an extraordinarily warm winter, except for those few weekends or days here and there, we didn't spend as much on oil as we should have spent had we had the winter from the previous year. So the planets aligned and we saved a vast amount of money. The second thing that helped us save the money with the boilers was the secondary boiler, the smaller one you pass, there's a big one and then there's a small one. The small one was designed to be run on gas. We have plenty of gas. They had to hook it up. Jerry's idea, Jerry Tenenbaum correctly directed that the gas line be hooked up, and that's that yellow pipe. Everyone I think has seen that yellow pipe. It's a lovely color. The pipe was hooked up to the smaller boiler, which allowed the smaller boiler to become the prime boiler. And we were burning gas, and we've been burning gas since somewhere at the end of January, which is good for us, because that's an additional savings on not using oil, because oil is always the more expensive product, as you know, because you read about it in the papers every day, what a barrel of oil costs. Now, there were some modifications made to this budget because, as usual, we put the health club fees above the line, which means it comes as a regular income to us. That helped create the surplus. In addition, we cut out $35,000 in legal fees because they're a one-time charge for the refinancing of the mortgage. So that brought that item down. And then there was a bonus, the real estate tax line, we got a credit from the city of $28,000. So certain things aligned with us to bring us to a surplus. I am happy for the surplus. And I'm sad because the only way we could have gotten this to where we are at the end of December 31, 2012, was to have that extraordinary... 2011, I'm sorry. I'm almost done with this year. 2011 was that 15.14% increase. Had there not been that number, we could not have gotten to this number of surplus. Now, you know that we're all dealing with a 5.5% increase, which says, since the 15.14% was done already, and the 5.5% is there, we're now approximately in the right place. Our management company is looking over to see where there can be savings. They think there might be savings. But we're going to have a problem right away because the city of New York has a law that requires garages to garage bikes, like their cars. And the law requires a certain amount of square footage for those bikes. Now, of course, in this area where we are, we don't know for certain this is going to affect us because CSR has another building that also gains income from their garages. And they're investigating how to get a waiver from the city, but I'll tell you the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is we have to lose 6 indoor parking spaces that have to be converted to bicycles. Of which, in my lifetime that I have left, if we ever garage more than 2 bicycles in that whole lifetime, I will be really impressed. But every garage is under this law. Every garage, indoor garage, is under this law. So when you lose 6 spots in a garage, if that's the mandate, that affects your income for the year. Because remember, we did 5.5% and we did a little bit more on the garage because the garage didn't start until a month after the 5.5% went into effect. And we wanted to gain the same amount of money that we would have had the increase had gone into effect at the same time as the maintenance increase. So we'll see where we're going to be. We're going to see how this works out. We're going to see what kind of deal the CSR can perform. There are no magic tricks here. There's ways to save money which are not necessarily good because it could mean personnel. There's other ways to save money which don't add up to that much money because every $100,000 is like 1%. Tova, is that a good number?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, to save $5,000 is not $100,000. You're talking about saving real money, and I don't know what this company is going to do or what they think they know, but we're going to find out because they have a whole year to let us know. Matter of fact, they have to give us a review somewhere around June. They have to provide us with a review of where we will be in the middle of the year, separate from our audit. You know, the mid-year audit that we get, they have to provide it ahead of that audit to tell us where we are. Now, we should, based on everything, assuming all the money keeps coming in the way it's supposed to come in, at 5.5%, we're supposed to have a balanced budget because they have the ability to do things with their accountants. They looked at our numbers, they came up with the thing, they absorbed all the things that had to be put in place. They said 5.5%. Okay, so we'll see how it works. Other than that, there is nothing outstanding in this document as adverse to any other year. There was no rollback of the 15.14%. We did not lose any personnel in 2011, which was the plan, but that didn't happen. We kept all our personnel. I don't know what's going to happen this year. I have no idea what's going to be going on. The board will be changing in the middle of May, and we'll see what happens. Though we did lose, now it's not fair. We did lose 2 people from our management office. But the reason why we lost the 2 people is because CSR only requires 4 people to be in the management office. So we lost Matt Williams and we lost Angela. Those are the 2 that we lost. So, but that difference, you know, it's even. The cost of running this place is a little bit more than it used to be, but we'll see how it goes. So, in terms of the budget, that's where we are in terms of our December 31st. The good news is always you have money left over. The bad news is we don't know if we'll have money left over next year, but we're hoping. Assuming there's no disasters, assuming we don't hire zillions of attorneys, which CSR said we will not have to do. They expect to have everything under control for us. So if we don't run up attorney's fees and we don't, and everything breaks even and our chimney gets done before the heating season again, and it's supposed to be done in May, so if it gets done in May, I'll be impressed. Who knows? This company is, I'm not happy, but you know, there's a lot of people who aren't happy, but we're not, this is what we're stuck with. Then you have Local Law 11, still doing that. Local Law 11, you know, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of drain lines and balcony lines that are happening. And these things are, there's some balconies that had to be rebuilt. I don't know if you saw in building 3, I think they rebuilt 2 entire balconies because they were that deteriorated. So when you get this stuff, I mean, we have prices for all of it. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we don't know what it's supposed to cost. We know what it's supposed to cost. The idea is not to spend the money, but it requires it because it's unsafe. You can't have a balcony collapse on somebody below, you know. So you have to pay for it. You can't have your drain lines destroying people's apartments, like in the A line. I'm in the A line. John is in the A line, and his apartment was a complete wreck in his bedroom because the leak in the balcony line was destroying his wall. He couldn't even sleep in his bedroom at one point. It was horrible. So these things happen, you know. We all live together. We're all shareholders. We're all cooperators. Any questions about that?
Is that in all buildings?
It depends. It depends. Not every balcony lineup, not every terrace lineup is required, but there are. I believe in building 1, the G line got it, but not the F line.
Not the F, just the G.
Right, just the G. Now, in building 90, I think they did both on the way down. Remember, they put up that fabulous scaffolding. Not 90, 80. I'm sorry, right? They put that scaffolding, which moved the work faster because they didn't have to do it off the elevator. They were actually able to go up the stairs and climb up to people's balconies. And they're doing the same thing in building 6. And they'll be doing the same thing in building 5 and building 4. If it has to be done, they're going to do that kind of scaffolding, throwing it up and covering. No, building 4 has it up. Building 4 has it up. Building 6 has it. Building 5 doesn't have it yet because they're not up to building 5. And I'm sure you can't wait for that, right? Listen, I found it the most exhilarating experience. They came in, it took 9 days over 4 weeks. It was the most, and I was the first apartment. We were the first line. So they practiced on us. Now they've got it down to a better system, but it still takes 9 different days because it's 9 different actions that must take place. And if you don't have cooperation from the person above you, which delayed me a whole week because I said, please come in and rip out my wall, let's get it done. They, are we okay?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, no. I'm just saying, it's not one of your more pleasurable moments in life. Yes?
Oh, this has to do with staffing. Is it true that CSR offered positions to the 2 people that no longer work in our office?
Only
Angela and Mr. Williams?
Matt was offered an interview at CSR headquarters, not to work here. And Matt does not want to work downtown. Not that he isn't qualified, he doesn't want to work that far downtown. Angela was not offered anything. Matt was offered. Matt was offered an interview in the accounting department of CSR. He's a talented fellow. We lost a very talented guy. I mean, I have to tell you, I had the pleasure of working with him.
Yeah.
A very knowledgeable, very talented fellow. I'm sorry.
What's the approximate cost of the 2 or 3 balconies per? Was it a G line? You said roughly 40, 45. Any idea?
I don't have that number in my head. I try not to keep those numbers around. But when it affects a line, you start at the top and go right down to the bottom because the drain is through the whole building. So everybody's room that has that terrace, and it's the living room, I believe, is the pipe.
Yes,
Is the
it's
drain.
The G line.
There's the living room, right? Because mine was the bedroom. That was just wonderful. But the living room is just as bad because that's where you spend most of your time. They break into the wall, they rip the pipe out, they put the pipe back, and that's on the inside. Then they got to cover the wall up. Meanwhile, they're ripping the wall out on the other side because the drain pipe connects to the drain connects to the drain pipe.
No, I understand. I was wondering how much is it for the replacement of a terrace?
Oh, the terrace.
Yes.
Oh, I had that number last week because we voted on it. And I'm sorry, it just.
It's a small 2 or 3, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, no. We had a set price. We're up to
Okay.
I think we're up to, no, not on replacement terrace, on the repairs of terrace, we're up to a 20% discount on it because we've reached that limit. But this was a replacement to the terrace. This was a big you're talking about knocking all the concrete out and resetting the whole thing, so it's a big thing. And it wasn't, and I don't mean huge amount of money, it's just a big job. Someone can't get out on their terrace. Yes, sir?
Question, first, when will building 6 work be finished? And second, when will building 5 work begin?
You know, you see this thing called weather?
Okay.
This thing that's called weather controls our entire life.
Okay.
And the other thing that controls our life is the amount, the numbers of workers that Brand has on the site.
Okay.
Now, if you put 50 workers on the site, you're going to get the work done faster than if you have 25 workers.
Okay.
Okay? Brand knows they have to get the job done. And they have a set price for their work. I mean, it's not like they're making billions taking this long. But for some reason, they're not staffing, and I've had this discussion with Jerry Tenenbaum. Brent is not staffing the job with a large amount of workers.
Wow.
So this slows us down. Why? Hey, this is a business.
Right.
Every place, I had the privilege of being in charge. Just so you know, I'll give you an example. I'm one of the few people who have had a crazy life. I worked in the school system before I became a union representative. And my last job, my last position in the school was to be the coordinator of the move of performing arts and music and art into LaGuardia High School. So for over 2 years, I spent meeting with the contractors. Now, the last year we're in the building, the last year we're going, we know we have to get into the building on the day after Labor Day. And at every job meeting, I would say, I counted the number of carpenters on the job, you only had 1. I counted the number of plumbers on, you only had 2. The different contractors, these are all subcontractors, right? So I'd say, you don't have enough workers. And the board would back me up. You know, at that time it was called the board, now it's the DOE. But the board would back me up, because I was their guy on site, you know. We'd say, you don't have enough workers. They'd say, okay, we'll think about it. Then guess what would happen the next day? 1 carpenter on a job, 2 plumbers on a job, 3 electricians on a job. Same thing the day before. They don't care. This is the way they do their business. Because what they do is they run multiple jobs. They're running multiple jobs. This guy doesn't depend on us for his income. He's got to have jobs, because that's how you get your money when you're in construction. So it's just the nature of the beast. It's not a happy nature, and it just makes people upset, which we all are at this point. I'd like to walk out of the building at 100% and look up and see sky. I used to see sky. I don't see sky until I'm like at 123rd Street at my door. That's insane, you know? On this picture, yeah.
Let me refine and refocus. On the rooftop garage alongside 6, I noticed that spaces 313 and 315 are getting an awful lot of brick and mortar dust. Now, you can destroy car finishes, whatever else. So for the people on the rooftop, when do you estimate building 6 to be finished? June, July? Tonight. That's a decent question.
I get this, you know, if I could give you a date, I would be lying to you.
You think it might carry through the summer?
Huh?
Think it might carry through the entire summer?
Yeah, easy.
Okay.
Look, it could, and then a miracle can happen.
Okay.
For me to say, we know the work is going to be done, the scaffold is going to be down on August 31st, I would be lying to you.
Okay, then when do you think the dust will stop coming down? Is that a legitimate question?
I'm sorry. That question is as bad as the question when I think the job will be finished. And it's not. And listen, I have that question every day in my head. When will the dust stop coming? When will when can I see this? These are questions you ask every day.
Okay.
And you can go to every job meeting, and you can sit there, and you can hear them tell you the time frame. We've done things to try to speed it up. It doesn't matter. This has a life of its own. Our buildings are, look, when this place was built over 50 years ago, this wasn't public housing, but it was housing that was controlled by that famous guy. Now, Moses was an interesting fellow. If you've ever read his biography written by Carol,
Oh, yeah.
you know that he had very rich friends. And the reason why he had very rich friends, because he made sure they got the work to do the job. Now, whether it was done right or carefully or well, evidenced our chimney. You know why the chimney came down, right? Everyone here knows that. No?
No.
Oh, I have to tell you that. That chimney could have fallen and killed someone. Because you know what? It wasn't anchored to the building the way it's supposed to have been. That's what happened. Jerry became the general manager, acting general manager, and they had a meeting, and they said, we're ready to go. So they said, okay, we're going to come down this amount of feet, and we'll get to the tieback to the building. Well, they went down that many feet, and guess what? There was no tieback. So he said, okay, we're going to go down another, whatever, so many feet, because that's what the plans say. They're going by the plans. These are filed plans. Went down the next so many. No tieback. So then it became, what are we going to do? Okay, we're tearing the chimney down. There was never a tieback in the chimney. Never. Not one. That chimney was standing by itself against the building. You never know. You know, there was an earthquake. Remember that? That earthquake could have, if it had been the right earthquake, could have shaken that chimney and it could have collapsed on people, on the ground, but it could have done that. Sounds exaggerated, but it's not. It really something that could have happened, and I don't say it to scare anybody, but that's how badly that was built. And these are on filed plans. So you understand what that means.
Same for the fence.
Same for everything. Same for everything. Everything is filed. It's a mystery, some of this stuff. It's a mystery.
These are 1957 plans?
Yeah, the ones that were filed at the end of the job. It says the chimney had tiebacks every so many feet.
That's as built. We have blueprints starting like 1951 to when they started designing the building. And then we have some revision of them and more revision of them, and then we have blueprints that say as built. The problem is that the as built, when we take it to the site, we have discovered many a time that what the as built blueprints say and what the building looks like don't match.
It's amazing.
Those companies aren't in existence
Of
anymore.
course not. Of course not, they're not. But
And
the
those
people
people
who
are not
own those
either.
companies had nice homes upstate. Okay?
Lucky.
Yes.
Yeah. Has Brent a contract with us? And
Excuse me?
when has
Brent has the contract.
Yeah, and is there a contract when to finish?
No.
And when to be paid?
No, he gets paid as he finishes the work. He does the work, cuts a George Truman Allen, inspects the work. When they say the work is fine, he gets paid. Stand. It's not, and we're not doing, there's nothing unusual about our relationship. The thing that's key here is how many men do you have on the site? And that's, they control it. You know?
Anybody?
If the,
I'll let you go again. Go ahead.
okay, I know.
No, go ahead.
Eric, I got your name down. Your name. Okay, Eric.
I've been a member of the workshop for many years. I've never used the workshop, but I felt it was worthwhile my support. I suddenly get a letter from our managing company that the fees have been up. Now, I paid my fee in good faith when I went down there to register. I'm not about to have it deducted from my monthly
Right.
thing. And I find the whole process objectionable because I had no prior advisement that this thing was going up. Supposedly the fees were raised, but they were never enforced. The fact is that when I paid my dues, that was in fact covering an entire year, even though I didn't use the workshop. And of course, I will have to go to the board, nor knows what's going to happen.
Okay, so here's what happened. There was an incident in the workshop. It was closed. We wanted to open it again, and there was a motion to charge $75 to members of the workshop. doesn't matter which workshop, all $75. Now, prior to that motion, any money being paid into the workshop was not paid to the corporation. It was a dues to people in the workshop. Nothing to do with money to the corporation. Corporation has decided by vote of the board, and CSR has carried it forward, that anyone who wants to belong to that shop must pay $75 a year. And it's going to happen also to the children's play area. That's going to happen. There's going to be fees collected there too. Things are going to be done a little differently. The board believes that's the way to go, and that's what's going to happen.
Well, do I have an option to withdraw?
Of course.
I make a, I make a contribution.
All you have to
of
do-
the thing I pay.
No, all you have to do is, if they're taking it out of your rent, you just tell them, your maintenance, just tell them you don't want to be a member, and that's it. They have to sign up. You have to, in order for them to take the money out, you must sign a document that says you agree to the following. If you don't sign that document, they're not going to take the money out of your...
Thank you very much.
Okay? It's like the gym. You know the gym? You have to sign the paper, hand it in, and then they take the money out. It's the same idea.
You have to fill a form, then you go submit it to the office.
A
and it's
new
fine.
annual membership fee or basic membership fee, or is it an assessment to take care of those extra expenses? I would say.
It's a membership. It's the for use of the shop. So this the co-op can, our
So
corporation.
the price has been increased from what it used to be?
No, there's no increase. It's a fee that's being charged for the first time. That was dues paid to the corporation, nothing to do with the money that was being
The
collected.
dues goes to the workshop group, but the fee goes to the.
Don't confuse me, Marie. Let me get it straight, okay? I don't want you to put words in my mouth. Let me do this right, okay? The workshop had a structure whereby they announced, the workshop is open, come down and see, and join the workshop. You pay the dues to join the workshop. Then you got a key. Then you can go in and use the workshop, right? That's the way it worked. Had nothing to do with corporation.
But the dues, was that annual or just one time when you joined?
No, I think it was an annual dues.
Okay.
Am I correct? Annual dues,
Annual.
correct?
Oh,
Yeah.
annual dues.
Right. Now, the corporation says to belong to the workshop, you will pay a fee of $75 a year. Just to the co-op, to the corporation, not the co-op, to the corporation. That's the same as anyone who belongs to the gym. Does anyone belong to the gym here?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, so you basically have an idea. You're paying and it's taken out of your maintenance. Taken out. I think it's added to your yes, it's added to, right, yes. Yeah, that is the correct language, because if it's taken out of your maintenance, that means part of your maintenance is going to, no, it's added to your maintenance, right, to do that, exactly.
Michael?
Yes, Michael?
Kind of on the same subject, is CSR or the board or anybody reviewing the gym memberships to see that all the key fobs that have been issued are represented by income to the corporation? And B, are they monitoring the parking spaces outside and inside to make sure that they are all being paid for and that there are not cars simply parking there?
If you remember during the year, during this summer,
Yeah.
I don't know if you were aware of it because you might have had a spot already, but there was a huge list.
Yes.
That list has diminished and almost, I think, vanished now.
So I
The
understand.
reason, excuse me?
So I understand.
Yeah, but that's true.
Yeah.
Because what they did was, they offered the spots. They said, you requested an outside spot, we there weren't as many outside as there were second and first floor spots. But we had the spot, do you want it? You have 5 days to tell us. Boom. You don't want it? Fine, next person on the list. Go down, keep going until you get rid of the spots. So I believe we filled 40 spots, which was the number. We also said that our maintenance people who work here, must pay to use the garage, but can't have a monthly spot. Except for the 3 resident people, because they're tied to it. So the 3 resident people can have a reserved spot. But anyone who works here, around, if they're 8-hour day, can use the garage, but they have to pay it as a transient. You can pay the monthly transient, you can pay the daily transient, whatever makes you happy, but you're a transient, all right? Our understanding on the Finance Committee, Andy, you're on that with me, right?
Yes, I am.
Our understanding is that
All the spots are empty. That's what makes the city's requirement of removing 6 spots for bikes horrendous. And you know the 6 spots, you know how they come to that? The square footage between the pillars dictates that it's actually 3 spots. So it's 3 here and 3 here, you get 6. It's bizarre. Anyhow, so maybe I'll come back and report they didn't get the spots. That would be a wonderful thing, you know, because there are other parking garages. Yes, did I come here? I'll be here.
What
Go ahead.
happens to the bike rooms then?
No, the bike rooms are ours. This is for people. You know, Mayor Bloomberg is a unique fellow. And his commissioner of traffic is another unique individual. They believe that our quality of life will be improved if they make bike lanes. And because we have bike lanes, of which I see them crowded every day, they're so crowded that they don't move in that lane while the cars are just rolling along freely. I'm being sarcastic, because there was never a bike in a bike lane. But the point is we have these beautiful bike lanes built all over the city, and now they're requiring that because people can use the bike lane, they should have a place when they reach their destination to park their bike. That has nothing to do with you having a bike room here. That will always be here. This is for the person who's going to come to visit you from New Jersey, who's biking over the bridge and needs a parking spot for his bike because we can't have it tied to our fence, right? That's the law. That's his, wait, yes, no, I said you.
Are you saying that these people who park the bikes in these 6 places pay nothing?
No. They will pay a fee, but the fee for a bike
Is different from a
is
car.
going to be hugely different from someone paying a monthly fee 12 months a year to the corporation. It will, well, if the monthly fee is,
No, bike. How much for the bike?
oh, I don't, it's going to be like $2 or $3. It's going to be ridiculous. You're not going to make that money back. You can't. Once you kill the spots, you're not getting a monthly income. Once you don't get a monthly income, you got to wait for somebody to drive up here who said, me and my wife who has a bike and my 3 children who have bikes need a spot to park our bike. You see? So they'll get 5 people parking a bike on a given day. And if that happens, I will not believe it. Okay? So, now, I just want to be sure. Yes?
No, my question was answered.
Thank you. Then I'm here. Am I here?
Yeah.
Wasn't there somebody? Yes.
I came a little late, this might have been discussed. I just sort of wonder how things are going with Cooper Square. I don't see any particular, I mean, my maintenance check or bill comes later than it used to. The elevators are just as dirty as they were. The grounds are just as dingy, and I'm wondering how is the relationship and what are they doing what are we doing to keep the place kind of spruced up?
We have professional management now, as opposed to before.
I know that.
Because we just had amateurs running this place before, but now we have professional managers.
When I moved here, there was a professional.
No, now we have professional. So now, our professionals are supposed to be taking care of all these things. And what we do is, at the board meeting, I mean, they're not terrible in what they do, because they do something that we've never had before. They notify the board of the items they have to act on between board meetings, or our long-range meetings. We used to say things, and then we'd wait, you had to remember that you did it or read your minutes, which is another issue, our minutes. But anyhow, I'm not going there, Just, I can't even remember anymore what happened in September. So the thing is that they are supposed to act on all of these things that we tell them to act on. In addition, they're supposed to manage the corporation. Management of the corporation means you manage the staff here to do the job they're supposed to do. Now, I know we still have Tom Tribino in place. I know we still have several other engineers in place. Only Alan Legaspi has left us. So we're not incapable of taking care of it. I just don't, we're asking for answers. Our financials, you know, before they took over, we used to get financial statements, the finance committee, and we knew everything. this is bizarre because we actually knew everything. We knew all the checks that were signed in a month. We knew where money was being moved. Like if the board said you have to move money to MRHS over the course of 6 months, we can actually see the money being transferred to MRHS over the course of 6 months for our contribution. Or if we said we want, we have $100,000 in the budget and we want the money to be moved over 12 months into the reserve fund, that $100,000, do we see that move? Well, we don't see that now. And we've told them that. Yeah, because they don't know how, well, I think they know how. We have to get them to do it. Now, I didn't check this month's packet. I'm afraid to check it, actually. But tomorrow night's a meeting. I'll check it later tonight and tomorrow. But we want to see if they've met our requirements. And I'm not sure they have, and that's going to be an issue. So we are working with them and asking our professional management to move forward in a way that is appropriate. Okay? So this is a relationship. Now, you should know, they can be fired. They can be fired. But you must have a reason for firing them, otherwise we pay a fee to them if we get rid of them without cause. We must have cause to fire them so we don't pay them an extraordinary amount of money. So we have to, we're working. They're professional and we're working with them. And really, they can be, I mean, they come off pretty good at the board meeting. It doesn't mean we accept everything. People are asking questions. We want to know what they're doing. You know, like I have my list. Every month I have a list. So, but some of them get resolved and some don't, you know. I was reading over the weekend the emails about building 2, the back door. And it seemed that Russell didn't know about it from the email. Like he responded late. He didn't get the information out to the shareholders in a timely fashion. That bothered me. So I think I'm gonna ask him about it. I wanna know why you didn't get out a notice to the shareholders telling them that their back door had been replaced. I mean, Mr. Vincent Montalvo responded to everybody. I don't know if you saw it, but he responded. He's actually fabulous. I mean, he's very good at what he does. So we're working. It's a relationship. We're working.
It's a work in progress. I have been surprised.
Yes, that's a good term. It's a work in progress.
Because the phone is not answered. Twice I've called the office, and there's been no
Can I
answer.
tell you a funny story?
I
will tell you a funny story because you'll love this story. Detta Hall, who lives in Building 70, called to complain in off hours to CSR. You know that special number they have?
Yes.
She said, "Hi, I'm in Building 70, and I have too much heat. Can somebody please look into it?" And the answer was, "We don't manage Building 70. We only manage Building 80. I am not making this up. So someone forgot to tell them that Building 80 represents 6 buildings. But we're a work in progress. I just thought it was, when I saw the email from Detta, I said, this is just a gem. Yes, right here.
Ann Burley. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, who?
Ann Burley.
Oh, Ann?
Did you ask?
Ann, oh, I'm sorry.
Then Joanna, then you.
Okay, is there any talk in the board about the storage space? I've been on the waiting list, you know, Bargold, the storage people. I've been on the waiting list, about 7, 8 years. You know, they filled up very quickly when we first knew we could store. But there needs to be some discussion as to who's monitoring the list and where are we on the waiting list.
Well, here's how it works. Bargold owns the lockers. Bargold gives us a feedback out of their monthly maintenance. It's like absolutely requires them, if they want to make any money, is to have them all rented. We believe they've rented all of them.
They must be.
Right.
I've been on the waiting list for 7 years.
Right, so this is how you get a locker. Someone moves or dies. There's the only 2 ways you can get a locker, because there's no other way to make more lockers. So the thing is this. Our management company said that we're going to be able to buy them Remember Bargold? They said, we only allow, we put them up, we own them, and you'll collect, we'll give you money for this. According to CSR, they've made a statement to us at a board meeting, and we expect them to follow up on it, that when the contract comes to the point of renewal, we can make an offer to buy all the lockers so we control them like we do the garages. And all the income comes directly to the corporation. We told them, that's a good idea, because all the money coming to us is better than a percentage of money, you know? So, I'm sorry?
You have to buy them first.
Oh, yeah, well, you gotta get them. Now, don't forget, they've made a lot of money over it over the years, so it becomes a point of, do I really want to keep taking care of this, or do I want to dump it and move on? So we'll see. Nothing's happened. Nobody's offered us a deal. They haven't moved on it yet, and that's something else I have to bring up is when we're going to do that deal. So we'll see how that goes. Okay? Joanna?
My question is something that hasn't come up yet, but I know it's come up as an issue in board meetings. So I was wondering what the status was of this suggestion that there would need to be hired an additional party, whether it's a subunit of CSR or an outsider or somebody, to be the project manager over our capital project.
That's a very good question. And this is what CSR knows. We will never hire anyone from CSR to be the project manager. Not only that, we will never hire an affiliate of theirs to be the project manager. They know that. Now, that's only half the battle. Now, my position, remember, the things I say sometimes are my position because I don't represent the majority of the board. But I do, and I have said this loudly, and I have said it clearly. I don't believe we need someone to represent the corporation, a private company, that will cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. I believe there's a way to do this for less. But at the last board meeting, we okayed a $16,000 contract to have our position analyzed as to where we are, what we need done, and how it could be done. We're waiting for that report. It's supposed to come to, I think it comes to us this month. I believe it comes to us this month. We will look at it. Matter of fact, I made sure before the motion was passed that the exact requirements of this $16,000 was listed in the motion, so CSR understood what they had to come back with from the company that was doing the review. We'll see. We'll see. It may be that we have, I could be wrong. We may need to hire someone, but I want to see a professional report that will tell me all the wonderful things this professional company can do, which no one seems to have been able to do in any other venue in the world, which is get more people on the job to finish the job. Okay? So that's where we are.
Louis?
Louis.
Are you privy to what Dan has been churning up in his cauldron regarding MGCA?
I'm not privy to anything except the motion that was passed the other night, which I was not in attendance. There were 4 board members that did not make that meeting. Me, John, Doug, and Jerry Tenenbaum. There were 7 board members there, one of which was Detta. And Detta, I believe, voted against the motion. And that prevented it from being an unanimous motion. Because if without anybody in opposition, that's what could have been said. In terms of the motion, I think everyone has read it. All right? And I think... Oh, it hasn't been... Oh, it must have been one of those things that can't get done on time. Okay, they'll get to it. I'm sure you'll get to it right after the May annual meeting. You'll see it. But if you'd like, I can read it to you.
Okay.
Could we go back for 1 second to that project?
No, I'm sorry, Louis. You'll come back. You'll be next. I wrote your name.
Let me see if I can find it. I think I have it. I think as part of the thing. Here it is. This information will be published ahead of the report by MGCA, which is a disenfranchised group at this moment because the board does not recognize it by majority votes. So it says, even though the attorney said you have to be recognized, so you figure that out. The board motion regarding MGCA submission to the MHC annual report. The MHC annual report is an official document that can be read by cooperators, prospective buyers, and government agencies.
It is important that its contents are accurate, truthful, and respectful. The report MGCA submitted this year does not meet these criteria. The Morningside Gardens Cooperators Assembly was established to, quote, serve as an expression of the popular will of shareholders, period, end quote. By its own bylaws, it is supposed to be a democratic organization whose membership is made up of elected building representatives. A June 22, 2011 letter to the board signed by 16 cooperators demonstrated compelling evidence of persistent disenfranchisement of members of the community and their MGCA representatives. The letter asserted that MGCA officers were elected primarily by delegates who themselves had not stood for election in their buildings for at least 3 years, if at all, or where the seating of MGCA delegates was called into question. On June 28, 2011, the board took up this issue. A motion was moved that, quote, the board of directors does not recognize Morningside Gardens Cooperators Assembly as presently constituted and will continue to not recognize MGCA until conditions are corrected and until MGCA can be restored to being representative of the popular will of the shareholders, period, end quote. Representatives from both sides of the dispute were invited to speak to the board and answer questions. The specific allegations in the June 22, 2011 letter were not disputed, but opponents of the motion asserted the board had no standing to take action. The motion passed 6-3, 2 board members abstained. By the way, there are inaccuracies in this paragraph since I was present at the meeting, and I know that's not true. But okay, so let's not look.
The 16 number is incorrect to begin with.
Oh, that's wrong correction. I'm talking about.
Okay,
Okay.
go.
The board's action was reviewed by council, which affirmed the board's right to pass a, quote, non-defamatory resolution commenting on the organization and operations of MGCA, but that would not affect the legal relationship between the parties as specified in the bylaws. Period, end quote. That language is pretty clear, right? That's good, because we violated that too. Council further stated that, quote, except for the limited legal relationship provided by the bylaws, quote, parenthesis, MGCA's ability to appoint 3 members of the Standing Bylaws Committee and the board's appointment of a liaison to and cooperative sharing of information with MGCA, paren, comma, there is no other role provided in the bylaws that MGCA serves and that the board need formally recognize, end quote. The board has, and then there's a footnote. Let me just read you the footnote. It says that this is an August 23rd, 2011 memorandum to MHHC's President Dana Lowenstein from Ezra N. Goodman, Esquire, Bert Allen Solomon, Esquire, Norris McLaughlin, and Marcus P.A. That goes on, last sentence. The board has complied with the MHCA bylaws relating to its relationship with MGCA to the extent practical. Now, this is not true. I will tell you, would you like this? Oh, sure, please. I can print out many more. I just want to say why it's not true. This was passed at the, this is passed at, that motion was passed at the April 3rd meeting of the Board of Directors.
It was never read at that meeting.
That motion was passed at the April 3rd, 2011 meeting, which I was not present at.
I was present and that was never mentioned.
I saw it in the videotape.
That whole statement?
April 3rd, 2011, remember?
That whole statement?
I can't say that every word was there, but...
My understanding is there was much discussion by at least one member of the board trying to reduce the original document, which was a page and a half, down to that. Just so you know, it clearly says that that MGC had a right to appoint 3 members to the bylaws committee. That is and that was honored. That is not true. That was never honored. The first thing we did was that we were going to appoint 6 members who were not even members of the board. That was stopped. The board as a whole was appointed, and they never met as a bylaw committee. Never met as a bylaw committee. That never happened. But the point is, the direction of the attorney was violated, the bylaws were violated,
And so this document is untruthful and disrespectful of you as shareholders of this community. So I was not there, John was not there, Doug was not there, and Jerry was not there. They called us this meeting was called in a very inopportune moment. It was an extra meeting, shouldn't have been called. I don't even know why we have to write a statement. People, free speech is free speech. It was done, so there be it. When you get your annual report, you will see this ahead of the MGCA report. Okay? That's what's happened. I wasn't bringing it up. You asked a question. I had it. Anything else? Yes?
I've heard that a lot of bylaws, even though the committee didn't ever meet, a lot of bylaws have been written. Is that true? And if so, who wrote them?
Well, I have no idea. I have no idea who did anything because I know as a committee person, and I understand how committees are supposed to be run. Matter of fact, I had the opportunity to run a bylaws committee for a corporation, and I didn't do it by myself in a closet. And I did it with the committee. We did one piece at a time. We went through. We thought our ideas. We presented those ideas with language to the board. The board passed it or defeated it. I didn't care. But the point is, I don't know. There is some truth to that. What was, I can't go into. It never arose in a formal meeting, so let's let it lie. Yes?
Is it fair to assume with the new board of directors that MGCA will be once again recognized? Is that the next step pretty much? Is that within the power of the board at that point to
It's in the power of this board to recognize MGCA. It's in the power of this board.
But it hasn't
It ain't
happened.
happening.
Right.
Well, maybe Building 5 wants to suggest that. That would be good. And I would love to bring it up at the next meeting and do that. But it's not. It hasn't been suggested. And the next meeting, the next time there's a board, that board can continue this policy until that resolution is revoked. This group has no standing that you're required to have. Yes.
By the way, the president announced that no board member can attend MGCA meeting and speak for the board because they present their private ideas. Per our bylaws, section 24B, I believe, it states clearly that the board and its committee must cooperate with MGCA and give them all information except for confidential material.
Closed session material.
Closed session material. So in effect what happened was that the president told board members, you may not speak for the board. So as you heard, the board member that has appeared at every meeting, as you just heard John, Larry said, basically started their presentation by saying, I am a board member, but I cannot speak for the board because of what the president declared. So you need to understand that we had, every month we had a meeting, we had a quorum every month, we had a board member presenting. But in every minute, if you like, I'll give you some of the minutes, the preamble to the presentation of the board member is, I am a board member, but I may not speak for the board.
You had a question, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
It's the easiest one you'll have.
Oh, thank you. I love easy.
I just was wondering, who are the 3 people on staff that live in our complex?
Vernie,
Okay.
resident handyman.
Yeah.
Angelo, resident handyman. And George, boilerman.
Okay.
They've been doing that. George has been here for 30-something years, I think. I mean, we've always had 3 resident people.
At one point, we had more than 3.
Well, always 3.
You have a
Right.
question?
At least 3.
Right, at least 3.
Michael, go ahead.
What is the present status of the chimney, and for how long will we continue to have the temporary boilers?
Oh, you missed that part.
I did.
I know you did, because here's the chimney. The chimney's gonna be done by May. That's what we were told.
May is 2 weeks away.
End of May.
Right, not May 1st.
Okay.
Not
May.
January, not
Sometime
February.
Now, when May comes to the end,
Which year?
That's the question. When May comes to the end, that's why I said I hope that chimney is done before heating season. Because whatever we're spending right now with this kind of weather is minimal. It's minimal because we're providing hot water. And occasionally somebody goes wacky on a weekend and sends up heating buildings,
Yeah.
which shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen, but that's what we are. Any other questions?
Okay, so I guess, so you don't really need to speak anymore about the April meeting? Because.
Oh, I want to do April 10th. May I do that 1 second, please?
Yeah.
April 10th, we met by phone. There was, we didn't have a full board because we had, I think, 2 or 3 people absent. But we voted to accept the revised financial report because the last page was wrong in the one the board viewed on its regular meeting. It didn't have the correct consumer price index to determine the value of the apartments, the resale price. So we had to make sure to vote that in, so when you get the report, you'll see the corrected number. Yes?
Okay, I've not reviewed this particular bylaw recently because I have not been on the board. But I seem to recall, Johanna, you might correct me, that if the board wants to have a conference call, every single board member has to be on it.
It's
Am I correct?
No, the law
They all
does.
have to be contacted.
No, you all have to
Not
be.
necessarily
No.
all.
The law requires that everyone be contacted because that's what our bylaw requires. But as to who is going to be on the phone, it's like any other meeting. You're either there or you're not there.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to assure everybody, we were all given notice that this meeting had to take place. And we had a call-in number. It was in an email that went out to all the board members. We have a listserv, so that we were told. So anyone who didn't make that meeting didn't make the meeting. That's it. What?
Is anything,
Okay,
I think she had a question.
go ahead.
yeah, I was just wondering about, you say, the resale value of apartments. The open house signs I see, that it's basically bargain basement here. And I was wondering if anything is being done to address this situation. I've only been here a year and a half, and I would say that if my lawyer had advised me in this past year, he would have, instead of saying, it's risky, but there's a new board and they're trying to do some things, that was like 2 years ago, would have said, don't buy, it's a disaster. So.
No, that's not fair. Just a minute. We're not a disaster. We're not a disaster. It only looks like a disaster to us. But we're not a disaster to the world. Anybody looking at our financials sees that we have a year that ended with a probably $65,000 surplus. We look very responsible. We don't control the resale price of apartments. Here's the problem. The world suffered a tragic moment in 2008. Things went out of whack. Prices dropped. Now, the Times is... No. The Times reported, yes, in Manhattan happened. But the Times reported last week in the Sunday that the market in Manhattan is zooming. So we may see,
Our prices are zooming. It's not the apartments in our price range.
No, the highest ones are zooming, but you get as Reagan used to say, you get a trickle-down effect.
Not if mortgage money is not available.
No, that's true.
That's the key.
That is the key. That is very much the key. If the banks are not willing to give mortgages, people can't buy apartments either. Because a lot of people here, at these prices, you need to have a mortgage. Most people need to have a mortgage. So we're not in bad shape. We're not in the best shape. But we have closed on more apartments in the first 3 months of this year than we did last year in the same 3-month period. We're selling apartments. The idea is to get rid of that list, because that's the best thing, is to have no list. To have no list of of unsold apartments. That's what I mean. Not to have people. You want people who want the apartments, but you want to have apartments unsold on a list. That's not good. Yes, sir.
The sales committee worked for a year and put forth a bunch of motions, suggestions to the board of directors. Do you know what happened to those suggestions?
They would have been bylaw changes. And the bylaws committee never met. That's very simple.
One of the motions was to do away with the maximum resale price.
You know, and I'll comment on that, because having a resale price that's 80% of the value, when that's really the full amount of money that you can pay for the home, whatever it is you're paying, is not something that's financially conducive to people. Our apartments are worth this amount of money. Then you tell them, oh, but they're only worth 80%. That's bizarre. That's the price. The market, you can't get 100% of what the market won't bear. Whatever you're getting is the 100%. So it's like that rule has to change. I mean, there's a reality now. We're at a point where whatever the market is, that's 100% of the value. You know, whatever it is. Lottie?
Can I bring up another question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, and that has to do with building 2, where I live, and we have now all the digging, all of that for 4 years. And if that comes down, as I hope, this summer, will there be money to refurbish, to do whatever has been damaged by it? Especially, or do we have to wait until the...
There is money. We have money. The question is, do we have a contractor? We do not have a contractor to do electrical work yet. I can speak to that issue too if you want. Something strange happened. An ad hoc committee of committees got together and decided that they would know more than what anybody else would know. So someone who's not an officer of the board or empowered in any way wrote a letter to Saratoga Associates and said, we'd like you to give us an idea. What it would cost to make a plan. Make a plan. Okay, so it's a bizarre number. It came to the board, and we didn't approve it. Because the plan was not a plan that would give us an RFP so we could send it out to bid. They gave us a plan that was going to be worthless to us. But we were going to give them a nice chunk of change for it. It's $30-something thousand. And the board passed that without getting 3 bids. Which board members spoke about, that you're passing something without getting 3 bids. So they went to a company that drew the master plan of this place, which has lighting fixtures in it, by the way. You know that. It shows you light here, light here, light here. It has lights. Okay? Now they're going to draw another plan that shows where the lights should be. And then, after they got done, they wanted an exorbitant amount of money to give us a document that could go out for a request for proposal bids. So at this moment, we have no contract. We're waiting to see what happens. Maybe the next board meeting we'll have a discussion. But we need to get that done and move that forward. And then, of course, when the scaffolding comes down, you are going to be amazed at the devastation that this has done to our grounds. And that has to be done. And it has to be done with more than one individual. I don't know if you know this, but it came up in an open session where someone proposed that we hire a gardener to do all the work here. I'm a gardener when I go up to my little rat trap in upstate. I do work. And I know how long it takes to do something. One person doing something, one person cannot do the work that needs to be done here. We need a contractor to do it. It has to be a gardening contract, but it has to be a contractor. And we have to tell them what we want to do. That hasn't been done. So you need 2 things done when the scaffolding comes down. You need lights, so you can see in the dark. And the other thing is, you have a place that when people walk in, because coming in through building 1 and 2 is the largest number of people that visit this place, between 1 and 2. That's your main traffic pattern coming in. If that doesn't look nice, we don't look nice. So that has to be taken care of. So we'll see what's going to happen in the next meeting. Oh, one more question, and then I think I'm finished.
Yeah, the question.
Roberta.
I mean, everybody knows it, but the walkway between the garage and to come to building 80 or to go down that way is just hideous. It's full of potholes, and it's just a mess. If somebody walks there like with a walker or something, it could just fall over.
You're talking about the
Outside the walkway, under the scaffolding.
on the scaffolding, right, the one that connects right by the cars, where the parking lot is.
Yeah, and my son lives in Queensview, which is in Astoria, and is probably not as upscale as this place. Their grounds are so beautiful. Every single pathway has beautiful asphalt, covering, and in between where little intersections are, there's some tiling, and they have Belgian bricks. I don't know if you know what they are, but
Yes, I do.
okay, all around the entire periphery of all the buildings, and it's so nice and neat. And if they can do it there, I don't understand why we can't.
This is the thing.
Do it here.
Everything costs money. I'm just going to tell you, everything costs money. And when this board took control, they cut the amount of money in the capital budget. When they cut the money in the capital budget, there's only so many things you can do. And we've already had the chimney is one thing that was not the whole chimney coming down and building a chimney wasn't in there. There's other things that are happening. These things cost money. When you got to live within your budget. So if we can get this place to look the way it did before we went into this situation, that would be a big improvement. If we can just get back to that.
Someone can trip on that walkway and sue the corporation because it's just got.
It's happened before.
A mess.
People have tripped before and sued us.
It's awful.
Marie.
Well, I think the chairman, are you recognizing?
Yes, I'm recognizing you, and you're the last one. Go ahead.
No, I was just curious, that sounds lovely where your son lives, but are they doing local law 11 work and roofing and so forth right now?
Well, they probably finished.
Every building in the city of New York, Marie, let's.
Yeah, well, but she said they're not doing local.
No, they have finished it. We're overdue to finish.
We haven't finished.
Marie.
No, I'm just asking, we haven't finished.
Yes,
right?
but Marie,
Yeah.
we started late in the cycle, and we are now in the next cycle still doing the first cycle.
Right.
Okay? So we are an exception to the rules of the world. Okay, that's the only reason why we're still doing local law 11. Let's just, put it in
But we
perspective.
are doing it, and so there is damage, and there probably will be more, that's my point.
Oh, then you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Mike,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a few minutes?
Okay. Can you do it in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of things that were mentioned at the April 3rd meeting that, and it reflected the bylaws. And Chris Berg says section 46 of the bylaws, MHA2 bylaws, says that the corporation recognizes the MGCA as presently constituted. It doesn't say anything about the role of MGCA, which in fact it doesn't, that bylaw. And he also said that council said it is a lousy bylaw, which I don't think council said. Yeah, I didn't think so. But even though it doesn't, the bylaw doesn't specifically address the role that MGCA serves, on the MHHC website, it says that MGCA has standing committees contributing to the consistency of the quality of life at Morningside Gardens. These committees include community relations, employees holiday fund, and the emergency food drive, which, again, not specified in the MHHC bylaws, but I think we agree that those are worthwhile groups, and they do worthwhile work. And in fact, I think at last month's meeting when the treasurer, Yvonne, went through the budget and the expenditures for 2011, she mentioned funds that have been used in the past year to support the emergency food drive. I assume specifically for copying the materials. I don't recall the amount, but it was in the area of $1,000.
Not quite. But every time they do it, it's really in the area of $100. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
about $400.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I overstated, so
Yeah.
400. So I think that's just something that I wanted to know, because I think, again, not specified in the bylaws, but I think in addition to the assembly that we have and the opportunity to hopefully have a liaison from the board and communicate to and from the board, I just think that those are worthwhile endeavors. And in fact, recently at the March 24th meeting, I believe it was on behalf of Community Relations, Joan, sorry, I forgot her last name. Levine talked about the recycling of electronics, which she worked to put in place. Again, a very worthwhile thing for the community, so I just wanted to make note of that.
Thank you. Okay. Now, Chris, would you like to speak? But before Chris starts, there are a couple of people here that have not been here before and would like them to introduce themselves.
Oh, hi, I'm Wendy Bowden, Building 5, Apartment 10B. We've been here for about 5.5 years now. We've just been on the.
So it's the first time you're here. Welcome. And the gentleman in the back there?
Eric Dernbach, Building 6.
I'm sorry?
Eric Dernbach, Building 6. I come occasionally to these meetings.
Name again?
Eric Dernbach.
Building 6. Oh, Denver. Okay. You're what, ninth floor?
That's right.
Okay.
That's very good.
All right. Denver. Building 6, what is it, 9C?
A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I think everybody else we know here. And now, Chris, would you please come up? And I forgot your name.
Forget that I'm here.
But you're here. Okay. Okay. Chris is going to give us an update on the our ongoing theme for this whole year.
Yes.
Go ahead, Chris.
Anyway, just to
Point of order. I'm sorry, I think I was here when we began, but was there a vote on the agenda to change the declaration of the quorum from the first item?
We never vote on the agenda.
Well, we
MGCA
have
is never
changed it,
there.
right. We haven't done it.
We have not done it yet. But we have never voted on the agenda yet.
Yeah, thank you. That's all.
You're welcome.
There's no quorum, Paul? No?
We don't have it.
Okay. I'm awake.
Good.
Just a reminder, we're into 7+ months with Storm Ivy, which occurred way back when. So it's summer again, so we're all getting ready for it. Okay. So, and I also wanted to thank Sarah Back from Building 3, who she and I have played tag team with trying to just keep things in order and on. So I appreciate Sarah, who's already working.
Can you speak a little louder?
Sure.
Louder and slower.
Okay.
And in French.
In French. Right, sign language, maybe we can try that as well. Okay. So, as best we know, there is some kind of an insurance settlement that is being worked on with the MHHC board and management recently. Much of the information related to the settlement, whatever that is not in open session and is being done behind closed doors or in meetings, we're not quite sure. So whatever information we get is whatever is in the minutes, or we have gotten flyers memos from CSR, one in February and one in March, trying to give us some information. According to Russell, on Friday, because we've been trying to figure out some of the process here, is, quote, there seems to be a lot of red tape and process that still needs to be figured out, all of which will be forthcoming within 30 days. So we hear a lot about within 30 days. That seems to be the business approach, within 30 days, which is a little frustrating to us since we've been trying to deal with this for 7 months. So 30 days means it's another month before we get additional resolutions. So we tried to encourage CSR to use different language and to get back in 2 weeks or something less than 60 days. Secondly, we understand that a contractor has been chosen by MHHC, CSR, we're not quite sure who chose this, to fix the floors of apartments that are in need. And that's the major issue. And the contractor is Instar. We have not been informed of who Instar is or their background or how they were vetted. We don't know. All we know is that they are now scheduled to review our apartments again, those that are having this done for the 4th time,
and are showing up with limited information to us. And I think that's one of the frustrations, is that we don't know who they are, nor the quality of work that they are, nor when they come to our apartments, which seem to be on Wednesdays only. We're not quite sure, they're not quite sure what the process is, so they're collecting information. And unfortunately, Vernie, who is the point person here, can't make any of the decisions related to the answers that we need. So we're then referred to be in touch with Russell, who will give us more information. So one of our ongoing frustrations is we still can't get some direct, just can we finish this? Some shareholders are also, because it's been elongated and we're going into a year, they are working on insurance settlements, but because it's a year, there is concern that because their floors are not fixed, the insurance company on their side will not reimburse them. So we're looking for letters from MHHC or from our insurance company so that they can do it. That's not so easy to come by. But because it's the year-long thing, this is the issue. Although some repairs, plastering, painting seem to be going on with no real problems, there are shareholders who are dealing with mold issues and potential abatement issues. And I know a couple of shareholders had folks show up, Vernie and a couple of folks come to work on floors and work on mold. And there seems to be no appropriate protocols in place to work on the mold issues. And in one case, a shareholder asked that the work stop because there was mold documented, and the folks doing the bringing up were not at all prepared to handle that. So again, it's part of, we're not quite sure. And again, we're supportive of CSR because we seem to get better responses. We've at least gotten things in writing and they respond to us in email. But we're not sure they're totally on top of everything, because that's some of the concerns. How could those workmen show up when there's a mold and not have the appropriate protocol? We don't get it. So progress has been made, but it's quite honestly difficult to appreciate the progress when we've been dealing with unfinished rooms or incomplete answers for 7+ months. And so that's what gets frustrating. It's hard to handle that. Communication is still difficult, and we are the ones that constantly have to initiate that. So what's going on? Or who do we have to call in? And people are busy and working and all of that. And so we haven't quite connected that. So our other goal is that we decided to put together a question to all the potential board members. Hopefully everybody got one under their doors at our expense, to just try to see if in the future, that's sign language, in the future, I'm not making strange comments at you. In the future, maybe the communication and other kinds of processes will be in place, but it was our attempt to try to encourage dialogue with potential candidates to move Irene forward. So that's thank you.
Question, sure. I assume there are other people like Adrienne who have done all the work.
Yes.
How many are such? Do you know?
No, our problem continues to be that we do not have access to the records, nor are we clear about what kind of records have been kept or what that really is all about. We understand that those of us, and we've completed some of our rooms and we have receipts, and that was one of the questions, will there be reimbursement? Because this was collected months ago, and according to Russell, yes, there will be reimbursement, but that's where the red tape and process is all sort of in place. We asked about deductibles because that was one of the questions. Will deductibles be reimbursed at some kind of level? And that hasn't been answered. And we know for sure they have stated that rugs will not be replaced. And if there's any abatement going on in your apartment, they will not pay, Morningside will not pay for your furniture to be put anywhere else or you to be relocated. You're on your own. So they'll abate it, but then you've got to figure out what to do with it. That's the latest from.
Have you any notion how many of your, what is it, 160 apartments are in the group that are awaiting action as
Don't know.
against the other?
According to one of the people running, he said there were 12 apartments that are yet to be done. I mean, I know that on the listserv I have, there are many more apartments than that. So all I know is there were 100 plus apartments that were affected. People made their own decisions in terms of fixing them to some or less degree. Some people are doing individual action on their own in different ways.
Can you ask management for these figures on how many apartments are awaiting?
I can.
And how many are like Adrian's?
I can. I'm not sure I will be very successful in trying to get that information ever.
Don't look at me.
I don't know. As I say, what we were really interested in was the process for people who have already paid for it. What is the process? And that's where, and that was from Friday. Russell said it took a while for him to get back to me. It's still in process, and there's a lot of red tape. I don't know what that means.
It should be simpler to get the money from the insurance companies for where we already did the repairs.
I don't know. I don't know. Yes.
When you said that certain residents are taking their own actions, taking their own initiative, what did you mean in terms of remediation of the problems in their apartments?
Some have fixed their apartments and from the very beginning and said, forget it, they're not dealing with this. Some had good insurance companies, and so they paid for everything, or else said, forget it, I'm going to pay it, and I don't need it to do it. They had the cash to be able to do it.
Okay.
And then there are some people who are going further from a legal point of view, is my
That's what I wondered. Yeah.
My understanding is that there are several people who are pursuing it legally, and that's their right.
Of course.
That's their right.
So this is just another example of the secret machinations of the board majority. This is only one aspect, a major aspect. And it's just an example how everything is done in secret, and there's no transparency, there's no communication.
Well, I think that's our concern, is that there needs to be more open conversation. We had a great meeting February when CSR came. Everybody came. It was very open. There were a lot of questions. We had great hope that as a result of that meeting, things would just zip along.
But then you were disappointed afterwards.
Absolutely. So it's stalled. And I don't know why the stalling. I don't know. There's a lot of plates in the air, as we all know here. So Storm Irene is one of them, and as I say, I think if we were not as persistent as we were, we would be way back in the bottom of the pile.
The CSR is moving in lockstep with the board majority.
I don't know.
They're reflecting the board majority's attitude.
Don't know. We haven't had any. I mean, I don't know. Can't answer it.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I just wondered if there's any way, with the rest of us can help that you see now, and I hope if you think of a way in the future, you'll bring that to us.
We appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's an election, so pay attention.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, please. Thank you. Okay, approval of minutes. Those of you that were chair, delegate, alternate last month, got the minutes?
Yeah.
And anybody got any comments?
No.
No? Okay, so I'm going to call the name of those that were delegate, chair, or alternate, and you just tell us yes, no, you're voting. Okay. John Mercer?
Yes.
Louis Papier?
Yes.
St. John Parsons? Lucky Strauss?
Yes.
Barbara William Henry?
Yes.
Joanne in Winston?
Yes.
In Jackson?
Yes.
Peggy McNamara?
Yes.
Eric Meroff? Linda Zender?
Yes.
Which is not here. Edith Acosta? And Barley? Thomas Francis and Yvonne Martin Kozula. So all of those, who is approving, who is for approval of the minutes? Could you please raise your hand? I counted. Okay, thank you.
Against?
I had an alternate here, I was here briefly.
Right.
But my alternate was represented.
Right.
But I didn't get a copy.
Of course not, he got it, because he's supposed to vote no
Yes,
here, you are not
yes,
here.
but-
He got it,
I take your word for it, but
ask him.
I'm saying that maybe it would be helpful when you have an alternate if the person got the minutes, or even if the rest of us got it, so we know what happened when we couldn't be here.
Well,
Thank you, that's just a suggestion.
Okay.
You don't have to think about it now.
all right, now, yes,
Can you add my name to being here today?
we haven't signed in yet, I'm going to deal with it right now. Okay, the reason I switched today is, now it's my turn to speak and then building report is the following. Building 2 had election and there were no issues. Andrea Brecker is now the chair. Susan St. John Carson is delegate, secretary and treasurer. And the other delegates are Michael Dimon and Lightning Strauss. Okay. Building 5 had an election and we have a problem there. According to their rule, the election were held on time, on March 20. The rule in the building is that you open the ballot in a public place and you count them. The ballots have been counted. The results.
Excuse me, you said ballot, the votes.
The vote, I'm sorry, the ballots. Yeah, the votes were counted on March 20 in the lobby. Everybody who wanted to could attend it. The results were certified by the election committee. It was posted. And according to those results, the chair is Ed Bogan. The delegates are Joyce, Queen, Marie Wilson, and Kevin Gladly. Okay. And then the committee decided to recount the vote. And according to the new vote, there was, I believe, Saturday. When did you count it?
A week later?
No, several days later, because.
7 days later.
Several.
Okay, several days later. The committee decided to count the vote, and it turned out the new vote, the new count was not done in public. And my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, that the building does not have any rules about recounts. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So, it turns out that one of the delegates got 3 votes extra, one got 2, and one got 1. And according to that now, Erwin Ransom got 1 vote more than Kevin Brady. The catch here is that Kevin Brady is challenging this new count, and I don't know that it's my place to talk about it, and I think that you might want to explain to us what's what. And the reason I did not deal with it at the beginning, the reason we did not sign in today is because I did not want to interrupt the meeting with squabbling over building 5, because we had important issues to take off. I mean, we had Larry speaking with Andrea and Chris, and I felt we should first deal with the meat of the meeting. That's what we're here for. And then we could deal with issues of who should sign as delegate for building 5.
Very simple.
Fair enough? Okay, so Kevin.
My assertion is simply that the election was done according to the bylaws and the recount was not allowed by the bylaws, so I'm maintaining that I should be considered a delegate.
Okay. Yes.
What prompted the recount? I'm curious.
I'm sorry?
To me, it sounds like a no-brainer. There are bylaws and
Right.
they were followed.
You're in building 5.
I'm in building 5.
Which
So-
apartment?
10B.
10B.
But, so for me, that just sounds very straightforward, but I am curious what prompted the
Maybe if we
recount.
hear from the election committee member.
Excuse me, I'm running the meeting, thank you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I asked Sarah before and she said to me I should continue. Sarah, would you like to respond?
Yes, I represent the election committee in Building 5, and we realized that the vote was very, very close. And so we thought we should double check. We regret that we did not do it immediately. That's all I can say. It should have been done immediately. However, because of the closeness of the vote, before we're going to store this information, we felt that we should recount our ballots. At which point we discovered the errors. Tova has mentioned 3 of them. That is correct. We then looked at where we were. And so the committee met again, discussed what are the options, what might we do to remedy this, and we had a dilemma. Do we not tell what is the corrected recount, or do we just do nothing? Do we basically lie about what we know to be true?
No, that's not a lie, so.
Well, I'm saying for us,
Okay.
you know, for us, we didn't, it was a dilemma.
Andrea?
Okay.
Andrea, Andrea.
No, we're just writing down the names of people who have hands up so we
Andrea,
can remember
okay.
the order. 1, 2, 3.
And
John was
Andrea,
first.
John.
John was first. Right, John was first?
Okay.
I have 2 questions.
Wait. If I finish with one statement.
Let her finish and then I'm starting with, it's Andy, Andrea and John. Okay?
Not John.
What?
John goes before me.
John before me.
Just, oh, thank you.
That's the order.
All right, thank you, thank you. That's why we have you here.
We see this as a building issue. Each building sets up their bylaws. Each building works with who their election committee is. And so we see it as a building issue, not an MGCA issue. If movement comes from within the building, we will deal with that. But we do not see it as an MGCA issue. Each building is autonomous. Each building sets up their own bylaws. Each building arranges their own elections, and that is where we ended. We, as the committee, ended with, that's the way it should be. So I prefer not to get into arguments. If there is a movement within our building to do something different, that we will certainly recognize that. That is the way things should work. But we do not see that MGCA should be involved in our building problem.
Andy?
What she just said, I don't live in her building, I'm not gonna ask any questions about her election.
Yeah, I think it is an issue for the tenants of the community if something doesn't sound very right. I have a question. If you thought the vote was close, why did you post the results? That's my first question. My second question is, if you deemed that it had to have a recount, why did the recount not take place in the public lobby? To me, it sounds very fishy, and I think MGCA does have a right to question something that sounds very peculiar and odd. Thank you.
Yeah.
John actually asked my question, but I would just want to reiterate that I think it is an issue. Again, it's certainly for the building, and as you mentioned, the building has bylaws, and that it seems to me the bylaws as they stand were followed. But
There was no,
not the recount, the posting. What I'm saying is, it seems to me, from what I've heard, that the bylaws of Building 5, which states there's a public counting and then a posting, then it's a done deal, and that it's over. There is no bylaw for a few days later, we have a thought, maybe it's close.
that there is no bylaw. And it also strikes me that if a building has an issue and it's not an MGCA concern, then what happened back in June?
Yeah.
When the building had an issue,
Yeah.
and it came to the board, and it affected, because 12 people, not the 16 stated on April 3rd, or the 15 mentioned in accounting for the June 28th minutes, it was mentioned 15. On April 3rd, it was 16 people, but I understand it to be 12 shareholders stated disenfranchised. I don't understand why that carried weight.
Right.
And the fact that now, I respect what you said, but it seems odd that MGCA as an organization overall shouldn't be involved if that precipitated that, in June, so.
Building 5, Erwin Robinson. MGCA has traditionally, and in fact, turned down or refused to propose a universal kind of election procedure in all the buildings. We know that, for example, in Building 6, there is not really an election procedure, if I may. In Building 2, I don't know when there has been.
There has been.
I don't know when there has been a bona fide election.
There
that
has
is,
been. Building 2.
I'm sorry, Building 1. My excuse.
Okay.
There was in Building 6 as well, a proper election.
There is a procedure in Building
No.
6. And you have to live there to know what's going on there.
May I continue without being interrupted?
Just a minute. Elwin, then, do you want to say something, Barbara?
May I continue without being?
Just a minute. Barbara.
I'm responding to his
Wait,
comment.
Barbara, you'll be
Let me
next.
finish.
You'll
Okay.
be, you'll continue. Barbara, and then you're gone.
In conclusion, MGCA has no fiat, no prescription over independent elections in individual buildings. In our particular building, we have nominations, secret ballots, nominations, and a set procedure for counting the ballots. There is no, listen, there is no proscription about checking the ballots for a recount. Period. Now, if people don't like the results of the recount, too bad. That's too bad. It is not for you, Tova, or representing the board, to interfere with Building 5's election procedure. Period.
Barbara?
Okay, I resent two things you said here.
Which one?
One was, there is no procedure in Building 6, and it is. It's an ongoing process. The second is, you're saying that MGCA has no prescription for elections. When in effect, Tova brought this to a meeting with Sarah Ryan.
The year before.
Yes,
December
bringing
ago.
all 6 buildings to the table and selecting chairs for each building. So you're out of touch.
No.
Yes, you are.
Okay,
No.
may I speak?
Okay, now, I'm
No,
sorry.
Director,
I'm sorry. Yvonne, then you can speak.
I am from Building 5, okay, and our bylaws clearly do not have any provision for a recount.
Nor a
And
proscription,
may I speak?
but don't
There
speak.
is, may I speak?
Erwin,
There
Yvonne
is no
speaking now.
prescription, there is nothing in there for a recount. And if a recount, I mean, it's questionable. First of all, if a recount was going to be, I think it was just not well thought out. I don't think that there's anything dark going on here necessarily. But it wasn't well thought out, but that doesn't mean that it should be accepted just because it wasn't well thought out. Because, I mean, I don't think any of the candidates had been notified that there would be a recount. Everything was done after the fact. It should have been done out in the open. We had the numbers posted. And another thing, by the way, Erwin, you signed a letter. I believe you were one of the signers of the letter that went to the board and asked the board to intercede in the MGCA election because you didn't like the way it went or for whatever reason, and you all complained, the 12 shareholders and the other mysterious people who are not shareholders complained about the process of elections in buildings.
Correct.
And you requested that the board interfere.
No.
In which they did. Yes, you
No.
did. Basically, the letter wanted the
No.
board to intercede.
Yvonne,
So I
no.
don't see, may I finish? You keep
Excuse me,
interrupting
when
me.
Yvonne is speaking,
So I really don't see where now, I think it's a little disingenuous to sit there and say that MGCA should have no say. And maybe MGCA should have no say, but I think people have the right to comment on it, and maybe it'll give the people in Building 5 the opportunity to rethink the path they have taken here, which is, you know, secrecy happens to be the enemy of democracy.
Oh.
And that count should have been done in public. If you made the mistake, then I think personally that it should be eaten, and we will have another election in 2 years. That's one option. You can have a runoff between the two people. That's another option, to have another runoff. But to just say it's a done deal, we did a recount, sorry we did it the wrong way, we should have thought about it and done it a better way, I don't really think that's a good path to go. And I do stand by the fact that 16 people, 12 of them shareholders, sent a letter to the board asking them to intercede in an issue that clearly the board shouldn't, because that happens to be our corporation bylaws that separate the two entities. And that's all I'll say right now.
Kevin?
Irwin is correct. There is no proscription against a recount, but the term is by law. It was done according to a law stated in print, and Yvonne mentioned a runoff, but that's not in the bylaws.
That's
Hey, we can do that, but it's not in the bylaws.
Not in the bylaw.
So if we toss it, I'm up for a recount, I don't care. But if we toss a recount out and we have this reconsideration because it's a closed vote, then you've rendered bylaws irrelevant, and it's all just turned goofy. And my question is, next meeting, am I delegate? What's going on? It's getting tiring.
Very briefly.
Yes, Irwin?
Yvonne, yes, I was one of those signers. The import of that letter was to ask MGCA to introduce a system in each building of some kind of open and fair election procedure. Sarah,
Irwin, you weren't there for the whole year.
Just a moment.
When I was
Just a
the,
moment.
okay,
Just a moment.
yeah.
Sarah Ryan was the chair of that committee, of an election committee, and you remember you were the chair of the TOBA, of the MGCA, and each representative from each building met, and we devised a system of what MGCA would productively have for an election procedure. The reason behind that is it was obviously known that many people did not vote in the elections. The elections, unfortunately, did not represent many of the people, shareholders in our building, and MGCA was in danger of becoming irrelevant, in that there was a small network talking to each other with no particular import. In an effort to produce and perfect MGCA, a system of elections in each building that you would agree with, and I would agree with, was proposed, and it was never passed. From
Irwin,
MGCA.
excuse me,
Right?
Irwin, I
No,
don't, wait,
That's
Irwin,
fine.
but I just want to say one
Yeah,
thing.
go.
I don't need the history on that because in
You
fact,
appointed the committee.
I was the person who appointed the committee, okay?
What
I was the
committee?
person that
Sarah
appointed the
Ryan was the
committee.
chair.
Excuse me,
I was the person that
Yvonne
appointed the
appointed
committee.
Sarah Ryan to be the
I
chair.
Oh, thank you.
I asked Sarah Ryan because I know Sarah
Yeah.
Ryan, I know Sarah Ryan very well. I know she has a lot of integrity, and she knows bylaws. She created our bylaws, and I asked her to head an ad hoc committee and to ask we decided that we should have one person from each building. We sat down
Were you the chair?
and had
Right.
that.
Okay.
And Tova carried on that work.
Okay.
It took a long time.
Okay.
You were on the committee, so you
Yeah.
should know.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. It was hard work.
Barbara, you
And
were-
it wasn't until the next
Ma'am,
year
Ma'am, you were on the
that Sarah
committee,
was
right?
able to
Nothing
come.
else?
Well, that still didn't, I mean, what happened? It was brought to the assembly, and everyone wanted to think about it. But that does not mean that, listen, that's the way people want to do in this assembly. That was all of you.
That's the
That was all
problem
of
with
you.
MGCA.
Oh, wait, that was you
Unfortunately.
included, unless you didn't come. I don't remember.
Okay, there
Okay,
was.
John Mercer had his
Okay,
hand up.
yeah, let me just say procedure. We did have a vote at MGCA, and the vote was that those suggestions makes sense.
Right.
It did not make it compulsory, and it suggested, am I right, Sarah, that building should begin to look into it and maybe phase it in. Is that correct, Sarah?
That's correct.
That's what we agreed on, okay?
Right.
So building have a right to phase it in, okay? Number one. Number two, I like to remind you one thing. There is nothing in MGCA bylaws that requires building to vote at any specific time. So this argument of 3 years is nonsense, and one of the people that signed your letter has not been elected in 3 years.
But there's no
And she
procedure.
voted.
I know, Tom.
So, okay, so the bottom line is, you're talking about procedure. There is a procedure in your building for a count.
For our building.
Yes, and there was no procedure for a
But
recount.
it's not your purview
No,
to
all
do
right.
it. Let the elections committee of Building
Yeah,
5
but-
decide.
MGCA is not deciding. I don't know why
No,
you keep
MGCA
saying
has
that.
no business in it. No
Mike,
Well,
business.
I think it's,
Mike,
you
it's
said
worth
so.
the discussion
Mike.
because Building 5 people are sitting
You
right
can
here
think
and
what
they
you
want to be
can think what
vocal
you
about
want,
it. so
but the
people
elections
wanna make
committee of
comments.
Building 5 are the sole.
Well, nobody's arguing
arbiter.
with you. I don't know why you keep repeating
No, so
that.
what are you
John,
arguing about?
I'm sorry, Dan.
There were some
Mike,
hands up.
Michael?
No, I think John.
I'm curious to know a couple of things about this. First off, how were the ballots secured? From the time that they were read out in the lobby to the time that this recount occurred, wherever it occurred?
Sarah can answer that.
I guess they were secured as well as any other building secures them.
I have no idea how other buildings
And
secure
that's-
them.
that's
How,
it.
what, how did you secure
How
them?
did we secure our, pardon me, how did we secure our ballots?
Yes.
We gathered up the stuff that was left, the envelopes that were opened, everything that was kind of around, just gathered it up into a pile, and I carried it to my apartment to take care of it. I was very busy. I didn't look at it for several times. I'm now trying to organize it, to put it in my closet, because that's about all I know that any other building does. I've never heard of any other building even keeping all of their records. I do have records from the various years. Okay, so, I'm matching up the proper things. All the ballots are here and the envelopes are here and the various pieces of equipment that we use, the tally sheets. And I notice how close the vote is.
Didn't you notice that the day of the
No,
election?
I did not.
I mean, it's a set of numbers.
No?
One is 21 and one is 22. They're close, right?
You may make a fool out of me.
Oh, I'm not trying to do that, believe me, Sarah. That's not
I
my point.
recognize
Yeah.
how foolish it was.
Uh-huh.
I have acknowledged that. We should certainly have made a recount that night. We felt under some pressure because one of our 4 members on the committee had to go to an 8 o'clock meeting, a finance committee meeting. And rightly or wrongly, this was part of our pressure. We have to get this accomplished so that he can go off to his meeting. And so we cleaned up quickly, took the signs down in the building, did what we thought was proper and correct. We've been, at each time I've done this now, I've been working on it for at least 3, if not 4 times. We make little improvements. This time, because it was the first time we ever had a competitive election, we had cards written out that would inform the people who was chosen, who was not. So the person doesn't have to stand there at the bulletin board and say, I lost. Right? We try to do things clearly, but you are correct. We missed recounting that night. So you are correct.
Okay.
I took
It
the
just seems
stuff
to
up.
me, it seems to me that the election is a process. There's a goal. The goal is the day when those ballots are counted.
Yes.
When those ballots are counted, unless there is some move made to challenge those ballots, the election is done. How you can come back several days later and decide, oh, gee, maybe we should recount, or maybe there was a mistake made, just seems preposterous to me, almost as preposterous as some of the board actions I watched over the last year. Sorry.
But it's true.
Okay, we have John and
What is
John,
February?
John,
And
and Kevin.
I'm sorry, I'm the Saddam Hussein of Building 1
Okay,
apparently,
quiet,
but I do have
quiet,
a question.
please.
Excuse me,
We can't hear
one
us.
person at a time, please. Thank you, John.
The question that I have is, did anyone request a recount?
Yeah, that's what I already.
Did any of the four I'm sorry, I don't know how many candidates there were. Did any of the candidates, after you published the results, after you came to your conclusions, did any of the candidates at that point in time say, this is too close, I don't like it, I want to recount?
Was it a request?
No, you're
No.
saying after the original posting?
When you
Yes.
originally
Yes.
posted
No.
your findings,
No,
and the
you're
vote was 1 vote, if you will, difference between one candidate A and candidate B, did candidate A or candidate B at that time ask you, I want a recount of these votes?
Nobody did.
So why would you have, what would compel you at that point to have a recount? That's what I don't understand.
Okay. One of the things that compelled this recount was the
You
fact
didn't
that,
like the results.
I'm sorry, do you wish to finish?
Yes.
Excuse me, John.
One of the things that compelled, that we thought was a reason for looking at this again, is we're gonna store these away. And recently, there was a question here at MGCA about the revisions of our bylaws. And old documents had to be pulled out that verified when we did the revision of the bylaws and how people had responded. So now we're gonna put this in the closet, and I'm saying to myself, as others were, suppose 2 years from now, they come and they ask about this balloting. Maybe we should double check on what we've done.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Go ahead.
So I don't know how many people were on the election committee.
4.
There were 4 people on the election committee. So the 4 of you were sitting in a room and you came up with this idea to recount the votes? Or was that your own initiative and you called the other 3 people together to say, I think we should count the votes over?
Yes, it was, the second one is correct.
The second one is
It was
correct.
my initiative because I was aware of this problem with bylaws. And so I said, I don't want to be exposed 2 years from now as having done something incorrect.
But according to your building bylaws, you didn't do anything incorrect. You had an election according to the rules that you had established. You had a winner according to those rules, and you had no provision in the bylaws for a recount. So how could someone say in the future that you had violated your bylaws by conducting a proper election? That's my question. I just don't understand where this comes from. You had an election. Yes, it was a close election. Okay. The 2 gentlemen in question at that time that the results were posted could have asked for a recount. Neither one of them did ask for a recount, and the election results were posted. That I have not read your building's bylaws, but from what I hear from what's being said tonight, every aspect of the building bylaws were fulfilled up until the point at which you decided to have a recount of the votes. Would that be a fair statement?
Basically.
Okay. John, Kevin, Yvonne.
I have 2 issues. One, by your own admission, after the vote was taken, the ballots were handled very sloppily. So how you could profess to have a recount after that is mind-boggling to me. But the bigger issue that I have is that as a candidate for the board of directors, and there are other candidates in this room, Marie, Andy, whoever, who are working extremely hard and devoting hours and hours of their time campaigning. The fact that an election can be handled so sloppily scares me in this building. It really scares me. Am I wasting my time in putting my hours forth in this complex to only have shenanigans going on around here? I'm really, I don't know what you're shaking your head. It's very striking to me that you didn't like the results and you did a recount, but why didn't you do the recount in public, and why did you post the results first? And you have not answered those. You have not answered why you did not do the recount in public. Can you answer that?
No. Okay.
No.
Okay, I rest by what I said.
Okay. Okay.
2 points.
Kevin.
One, the results of the elections were posted in the lobby for about a week, and there was no fuss. But second, Sarah, you did mention this is the first close vote we had, but when Marion, Irwin, and I were elected the last time, I edged out Stuart Linder. And there was that was a close election. It wasn't the first one we've had this time. We had one just before.
Was it as close?
I forget, but Stuart, he seemed rather placid about the whole thing. So it was okay. But again, I asked, am I going to be delegate here next time or not?
Building 5. I need building 5 to say. You're in building 5.
Well, can I make a motion?
No,
wait, can I?
You can't make a motion, you're not delegate.
Yeah.
But, okay. But what, we need your opinion because you're in building 5.
Well, I've heard a lot of other perspectives than my own, and I'm open to hearing that. It sounds like it's a building 5 issue. It sounds like we need to have somebody from building 5, it could be anybody, propose within our building to the election committee to call a meeting, and in a building meeting we can continue to address this. That's what it sounds like.
Whom do we seat in the meantime?
Pardon?
Should Kevin be seated in the meantime because he was
Well,
counted?
I think that there's an unfortunately, there is an election committee, and whether I agree with what they've done or not, they are the committee, and they've taken some actions, so I think we have to abide by those actions, but we can protest them within our building. That's what I think.
Thank you. You're in building 5. Come on, speak up.
I'm from building 5. I've been there for
Forever.
some 40 odd years, I guess. And I was on the bylaws committee along with Sarah when we created the latest set of bylaws.
Cunningham?
Sarah
The building 5
has limitless integrity as far as I'm concerned. From all of the discussion, I realize now that when we created the bylaws, there was at least one little glitch. We didn't provide for a recount. That, of course, can be remedied in time. We have had a very vigorous discussion here, and a lot of people have laid it on Sarah, I think without good cause, because they don't know Sarah like I do. But I think that it is really a building 5 matter, and that we've had enough discussion so that we can take care of it in building 5 quite well now.
So what do you suggest now? Who should get today? Who should be the delegate today? Or you suggest nobody should be a delegate today and building 5 should solve the issue first? Because you see, that is why we did not sign in today, because I didn't want this discussion to proceed the meeting.
I understand.
This is why. So I need you to
But-
tell me
but-
if I am moving now the sheets for delegate signing. Who is signing for building 5 besides Marie, Joyce, and your
I'm going to say Ann Bogan.
for Ann Bogan, okay? So
Well-
you tell me, none of them signed?
I would say, is this what Solomon would say?
Hey, I know
But
you're.
neither one should be recognized at this point.
Kevin?
John has an excellent reputation here. He's a wise person. I think what John says is fine. We'll hash it out. And we can even have a recount in direct violation of the bylaws. I don't care. But let's
No,
have
recount.
You need a revote. Thank you. A revote, a runoff. I don't care. Just make a decision.
I just want to say one thing. Implicit in some of these comments is some skullduggery or bias on the part, not of me and Kevin. Look, Kevin did not complain. I did not complain. Correct, Kevin? Correct. We did not ask for a recount.
No.
I did not, and you did not.
Nope.
Actually, all this arose from the elections committee. And so the board, the elections committee of Building 5 are the sole arbiters at this point of what happened. Period. It is not my decision, or Kevin's, or MGCA's.
But the elections committee is dirty in this matter.
No, our elections committee.
Your elections
Correct,
committee
Building 5.
has screwed up.
What-
And
no,
how,
no, no, no.
excuse me,
No,
and
you
how
say
can
it's
you
screwed
say
up.
that
You
they
say
should be
it's
the
screwed up.
arbiters?
Don't
You
use that
admitted you
language.
screwed it up.
John?
I would like to offer a suggestion.
Yes.
Please.
We have in the past set a precedent in this group when there was an issue of a non-shareholder being appointed as a delegate. We
Correct.
refused to seat that delegate.
Correct.
You have two options tonight. You could either take a vote among the delegates, excluding Mr. Ronson and Kevin, as to whether or not you wish to seat one or the other delegate and turn it over completely to the auspices of MGCA, or you can have a vote to not seat either one of them until the election committee comes back with a solution to the problem. But I think either one of them would require a vote of the members of the current voting members
Right.
and the members who are not in dispute at the moment.
Okay.
No, just one. There is no reason for the MGCA to have jurisdiction over Building 5's election procedure. As we didn't in Building 6, when we didn't elect this, because we raised the question of shareholders, you're right. But MGCA has not interfered or prescribed anything in any of the other buildings, have they?
But we
Have
have,
they?
but Kevin,
Have they?
but Kevin is challenging.
Kevin has not presented the vote, nor did I.
No, he's challenging the recount,
He's
you're not
challenging
challenging
Are
the
you
election.
challenging the
Turned out to be
recount?
good.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, good luck.
Kevin is challenging the recount.
And how do you challenge it, Kevin?
Violation of the bylaws.
What bylaw?
The one that says we count the lobby and that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Bizarre.
why is it
We agree.
There's no bylaws to refer. Leave it to the buildings code, as you do in all the other buildings, and that's
Excuse
it.
me. So I'm asking people from building 5 now, should we seat none of them at this point? Joyce?
It's not your
Well, I've
purview.
already offered my opinion, and I will say, in my opinion, I think we also talked about this enough here, but I will say that I very much appreciate that there was a forum to hear more about this and to be able to gain perspective. So while I think it's probably, we should put a timer on the conversation.
Yes, we are putting it
But
right
I
now.
do appreciate the forum.
Okay. So, yes, Lucky. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Building 5.
Yeah, as a Building 5 cooperator, I was hoping to get some intelligence from the MGCA. Someone must govern this, and I was hoping that it might be MGCA and be able to make that decision. It seems that's not the case, and so unfortunately, I sort of walk away, at least having to perhaps leave it in the building hands. Because I trust my building, I trust the process, the elections process. So clearly something has gone wrong.
Right.
And the cooperatives in my building, I have all faith in. I have no reason not to have faith.
May I ask you a
So
question?
I just, is this the general policy that MGCA has no bearing at all on the elections that take place?
Building, okay, according to MGCA, buildings are independent.
Something needs
The
to
one
change.
time that we interfered, we refused to seat people was when Building 6
Right.
elected
Had that problem
people
up there.
that
Right.
were not shareholders,
Right.
and it is violating MHHC bylaw.
Correct.
But didn't they do another election? I mean, if that's what we need to do, whatever the heck they did, they did that, if I remember correctly. They had another election.
No,
And if
we
we need to
didn't.
do that
No,
in
we
our
didn't.
movement.
Okay.
You know, they did some, but they did
They
have
did
a
something like
solution.
We did.
Oh, yeah, so we should work out our own solution is my
Right.
thought.
So at this point, what do you suggest? Neither one of them should sign in today as a delegate?
If that's protocol and let the building make the decision, that would seem to
Well,
make
what
it
is
a
your
joint.
thinking?
I think the building should make its decision
neither one of
in a
them-
certain timeline, say a month.
Yeah, but-
Whatever and
So
then
by-
you should have a decision by the end of the month.
Okay.
I have an
so-
alternate decision.
Yes.
Seek neither of us for the 2 full years and get this resolved through bylaws for recounts, whatever. I'm content to stay aside to get
Okay.
the situation settled. That's just a
But
suggestion.
don't we need a building?
May I ask
Larry
one
has a
question,
question,
please?
and
Larry,
Or-
go ahead.
The elections committee people from Building 5, when you conducted the vote, did you let people initial next to their apartments so you knew how many ballots had to be counted?
Absolutely.
So this is what I don't understand, because I'm sitting here quietly, and I've run hundreds of elections, because UFT is a very democratic organization, we run elections all the time. When you counted the ballots, you knew you were too short at that moment?
No. When we posted the
No,
ballots,
forget the posting.
Okay.
When you
there were
counted the ballots
75 ballots. Now,
that were taken out,
that's correct.
how many were cast?
75 ballots were cast, 75 ballots were approved as legal.
Okay, so you knew you had 75 ballots.
Correct.
When you counted the total,
Yes.
these two gentlemen, between the two of them, did they total 75? I'm only asking you.
I understand and I'm
Okay.
trying to answer you.
Okay,
On our ballot, there are 5 people for delegates. And we can only elect 3.
okay,
There is a place on the ballot, as there is on the NHHC ballot, for how many people you voted for.
okay.
So you cannot exactly say, well, 75 ballots, we should
Oh, I
have
see,
this many
I see the
votes.
problem, okay.
May I please?
Thank you,
Thank you.
I was confused.
Well, Irwin and I got 77 votes between us, 39 and 38, so how does the 75 fit in? Or am I asking the wrong question? We did get 77 votes.
John, stop laughing. Yes, yes.
What happened? Am I missing something?
It has nothing to do with the 75. I could vote for 2 or 3 or 4.
You could have a
Don't
total
you
of
understand?
225 votes cast for delegates. The question is, how many were cast?
75 said.
No.
75 ballots.
Oh, okay, all right, thanks.
Not 75 votes, 75.
Yeah, but now you're talking numbers are a little
Do
confusing,
we
but,
have unfinished business tonight that will require voting?
I don't think so, but we like for the record to know who was there.
excuse me.
Well then, could I propose then that instead of calling roll call that we adjourn the meeting?
Do I sign?
Second vote.
Neither you nor Kevin signed.
You're signing as a delegate.
You can sign
But I
a
was
shareholder.
You got this nifty shareholder signing sheet.
I was voted as a delegate.
Thanks.
Yeah, but if the ballots are questionable, why don't we just have a recount, not a recount, but a revote? Because even, excuse me, you know, Sarah, I don't think you touched those. Anybody else could have, we don't know, they weren't secured. But when you look at the numbers of the original vote and the recount, only 3 people, excuse me, only 3 people got more votes in the recount. But the treasurer didn't get another recount. I just find it's really hard And I don't understand how it could happen. Maybe it could happen, but in the recount, the only people that garnered more votes were 3 delegates, but the treasurer didn't, the secretary didn't, the chair didn't, but only these 3 people, and that's where the vote changed. They're the only people that got more votes. I mean, so as long as people can question it, I think, you know, the recount is questionable. And other people have said that to me, and I stand, and I know you have integrity. I don't doubt your integrity at all. But people have said to me, look at these numbers. How come nobody else got more votes? I mean, if there was a miscount, why are there only miscounts on Irwin and Reed and
You signed it and also,
well, they